what I'm going to do today is I'm going to repeat the contents of one of my first videos about how to export an avatar out of Daz Studio into Marvelous Designer and then use it as an avatar in there. And then we're going to export the clothing back out of Marvelous Designer into Daz Studio. Now the reason I'm updating this is because Daz Studio have released Genesis 9 characters that have a little change in the way they're defined. So let's see how that happens at the moment. Right, so Daz Studio. I'm going to load up a Genesis 9 character. Now you can load up the Genesis 9 default character there. If you've got the developer kit installed, you can also import the dev load. This option will save you having to delete some of the items, but I'll show you using the normal character first, because it will probably be more familiar to you. Now, since Genesis 9, what they've done is eliminated male and female base models and created a general sort of in-between character. If you're going to create clothing for a male or a female and you want the avatar in Marvelous Designer to look correct, all you need to do is change this into a female first. So if I select parameters on the Genesis 9 model, go to morphs, I think, no, I'll just pick the Genesis 9 character and I'll type FEM to get the female morphs up. So there's base feminine body. If you're base feminine, you'll see the body and the head transform into a female. So there's your base character, there's your female. If you wanted to export a male avatar, you've got a base masculine. So there's your slider for converting from the base to the man. So I'm going to stick with the female for my example. So base feminine, 100%. Now before we export this to Marvelous Designer, I'm going to simplify the model a little bit so you can see it loads up with eyelashes, tear ducts, mouth, eyebrows and eyes. Could leave the eyes in, but if I delete the other items first, it simplifies the model a little bit and it lets Marvelous Designer assign arrangement points. So in Daz Studio, make sure you've got Genesis 9 selected. If we ignore invisible nodes, if we'd hidden any items like eyes or eyelashes, they would be excluded, but I've deleted them. Accept that. Into Marvelous Designer, File, Import OBJ, pick my OBJ file, make sure it's open as an avatar, add the arrangement points, scale to centimeters, do not align bottom to ground. There we go. So there is the Genesis 9, the female morph applied. Now if I quickly create some clothing for this, I'm not going to go too elaborate, just something to show you what we need to do. So half of the cheapest dress in the world. Now if you forgot to delete the mouth and the eyelashes, when you turn on the arrangement points, you'll find there aren't any. So if you go back to my first step, you'll see I deleted the mouth and the eyelashes and the eyebrows. If you've got no arrangement points, that's your cause. That'll do. Right, there's my basic dress. Not very glamorous. I've only got a single material in this one. So if I go just quickly to my UV map to make sure it's all in there. 01 square. Now if I go File, Export, OBJ. Actually no, I'm going to do it as an FBX, but I do cover that in other videos. This will be MDG9F. Export. Single object, thin materials, welded. Unified coordinates, I'll keep the maps on for now. Scale is centimeters for Daz Studio. I've done FBX version 2014-15. It seems to work. I'll OK that. This will render. This is three maps for material and create the FBX file. Now back into Daz. I'm going to File, Import. There's my material, Marvelous Designer. I'm going to leave these all as default for now. So far, this has been pretty much the same as with Genesis 8, but here's where it diverges a little. So I'll delete the avatar that Marvelous Designer's given us. There's my clothing. Let's go for smooth shaded. Right. Now this will be the same as before, so we do Object Transfer Utility. This takes the Genesis 9 skeleton and puts it into the Marvelous Designer object. The options, we're going to have to reverse source shape from target, but first of all I'll show you what happens when we don't do this. So I'll accept it all as defaults, the same as we would have with Genesis 8. I'll add a smoothing modifier just for consistency. Now what it's done is it's placed the body, but it doesn't quite fit, and the reason for this is it's tried to conform the object to the base Genesis 9 character, and our avatar that we created the clothing for had a morph applied to it. So if I delete that again, I'll show you how we have to do it now. So if I do File, Import again, same options. Delete the avatar. Now this time I'm going to do an Edit Object Transfer Utility, pick up the Genesis 9, pick up my target object again. This time we want to say conform this to the morphed body. Now if you say current, and then this enables the reverse source shape from target, and this will work. Now you can see it fits correctly. The problem with that option is it only works in the A pose. If you're importing your clothing and you've already got a pose attached, to put my Genesis 9 into a pose, let's pick one, that'll do. You can see my clothing still fits, more or less. Let's just hide that a second, and I'll show you what happens if we... No, I say delete that. If we do File, Import again, same options. Delete the avatar. Edit Object Transfer Genesis 9 to my new object. I'm going to say current. Reverse source shape from target. Add smoothing modifier. Now what you see this time, because it wasn't in the A pose, it's tried to reverse the pose as well as the morph. And it's gone all wrong again. So I'll delete that, and now I'll show you the more now I'll show you the more reliable way of doing this. Import the Marvelous Designer. Delete the avatar. Now then, this is how you need to do it. So Object Transfer Utility. Select the Genesis 9, select the target. Item shape needs to be on morph, and it'll ask you to choose your morph. Now the only one we need here is feminine body, base feminine body. It's about 3/4 of the way down the list on mine. Really depends on how many morphs you've got loaded up, but it'll be about under the base feminine collection. So base feminine body, and accept that. This also enables a reverse source shape from target, but this time it only reverses that morph, and you can see the clothing is trying to conform correctly. Now you may notice I didn't use any of the options for projection templates. I'm on Daz 421 at the moment. I forget the build number, but the projection templates tend to cause the transfer utility to crash. But it's not essential when you're adding dForce anyway. So I'll quickly run through the dForce options on here so we can see that this has worked. So Object, Geometry, add a dynamic surface, pick the surfaces. I show this in other videos, so excuse me if I rush it. My video drivers have updated to the latest version of GeForce, which has a bug in them. That so that is how you get your object into Daz Studio on a Genesis 9 character. Works for male and female. It also works on any other morphs you've applied. If you've got avatars with Genesis 9, morphs applied to them, you can do this. But if you want to put it on the base feminine, that's your most simple way of doing it. So now's the full test. Quickly simulate this new clothing. There we go. Marvelous designer, Genesis 9 female. I hope that's of some use.